I moved to a new village to find tranquility away from city life. Instead of finding peace and quiet, I found a bloodthirsty monster. This is my story. When I moved to a small village in southern Texas, I anticipated tranquility. I had bought a rundown ranch where I dreamt of herding goats. The urban buzz of Houston had drained me, and I sought solitude. However, I was far from prepared for the horrors that awaited me. The first day at the ranch, as the sun descended, casting golden rays over the land, an old man from the village came to visit. He had wrinkled skin, like parchment, and eyes that had seen more than I could imagine. "Watch out for your goats," he whispered, handing me a talisman, which was a small stone with odd carvings. "For the Chupacabra," he added before turning away. I had heard tales of the Chupacabra. It was said to be a creature of the night that feasted on the blood of livestock, leaving drained carcasses in its wake. The stories painted it with reptilian skin, quills running down its back, and eyes that glowed an eerie red. To me, it sounded like an urban legend, stoked by the fires of village gossip. During that calm week, the blistering sun beat down, but the work kept my spirits high. Every morning as roosters crowed, I'd be outside, hammer and nails in hand, painstakingly mending the dilapidated fences. They had suffered from neglect, the wood splintering and the nails rusty. Each plank I secured felt like a piece of the sanctuary I was building for myself and my goats. By midday, when the sun was its most unforgiving, I'd retreat to the barn's shade to attend to my goats. Their playful antics, the way their tails wagged, and their curious bleats brought smiles to my face. In their eyes, I saw an innocence and reliance that reminded me why I had moved away from the urban chaos. But as the shadows grew longer and night approached, the serenity would be disrupted. With the veil of darkness came the unnerving symphony of noises. Whistles that seemed almost human would echo. The grass outside rustled as if something was moving just beyond where eyes could see. And occasionally, a bleat of sheer panic would pierce the night, making my heart race. On the night of the incident, I was nestled under my blankets when a sudden cold draft made me shiver. The ancient wooden walls of my house groaned, allowing the chilling wind to sneak in. Then, there was that soft yet unmistakably malicious hiss. I felt a pit form in my stomach. Fumbling in the dark, my fingers found the flashlight, and its beam cut through the darkness as I raced out. I wasn't ready for the sight that awaited. 3 of my precious goats lay sprawled, their eyes devoid of the life and playfulness I had come to cherish. The ground beneath was stained dark, and upon closer inspection, I saw the unmistakable twin puncture marks on their necks. My heart pounded loudly in the haunting silence that followed. Grasping the talisman, a sudden warmth spread across my hand as I recited the words passed down by the old man. The atmosphere grew heavy, and the world seemed to blur. The hissing that had filled the night receded, replaced by an almost suffocating silence. By morning, the village was abuzz with my experience. The village elder, Don Ernesto, visited, his concerned eyes scanning the grounds. "It's been years since it last struck. We thought it had gone," he murmured. Over the next few nights, the attacks grew frequent. I tried to stay awake, patrolling the ranch, but the Chupacabra was elusive. Its glowing eyes would sometimes catch the edge of my flashlight, but before I could react, it would vanish into the night. My goats were dwindling, and so was my sanity. One evening, as I sat exhausted by my fireplace, Don Ernesto visited again. "There's a ritual," he began hesitantly. "It's been passed down in our village. It might banish the Chupacabra for good." Driven by desperation, I agreed. That night, we gathered around a bonfire. The villagers formed a circle, chanting words that echoed into the night. Don Ernesto and I stood in the center, the talisman raised high. As the rhythmic chanting intensified, enveloping the surroundings with an eerie melody, A gust of wind began swirling around, rustling the leaves and making the flames of our torches flicker. The temperature seemed to drop a few degrees, and a palpable tension filled the air. Every fiber of my being sensed that we weren't alone. It felt as if the very shadows held their breath, and an ominous feeling of being observed gnawed at me. Then, with an abruptness that made my heart race, a dark silhouette, more a void than a form, slowly materialized from the gloom. Two eyes, radiant and menacing, pierced through the dark, fixing on us. The Chupacabra stood there, its grotesque form momentarily highlighted by torchlight, its sharp ivory fangs gleaming, wet with saliva, as it let out a chilling hiss full of hunger and malice. Holding the talisman firmly, I began reciting the words Don Ernesto whispered to me. With each phrase, the creature stepped back, as if in pain. The ground trembled, and the wind howled, but I continued, my voice unwavering. With a final scream, the creature vanished, and the night fell silent. Exhausted, I collapsed, the villagers cheering around me. Don Ernesto helped me up, his eyes filled with gratitude. "You've done it," he whispered. The following days were peaceful. My goats grazed contentedly, and the nightly horrors seemed a distant memory. As the weeks turned into months, the legend of the Chupacabra became a tale I narrated to visitors over campfires, the fear it once evoked replaced with triumph. However, one evening, as the sun painted the sky with hues of orange and pink, a soft whisper brushed past my ear. "It's not over." The chill returned. The talisman felt heavier, and I knew the battle was won, but the war was far from over.